Variety has just posted a scathing article about the crisis at Marvel. We're going to get into all the major points of what was in the article right now on the Sundowners Club. Marvel Cinematic Universe, they've been in trouble for a while, and we've seen it by the box office results of this most recent phase of movies after Endgame, which was a huge success. And we've seen it in the Disney Plus series, which most of them don't make any sense. They flopped. And now, for the first time, Variety has put out a pretty scathing article about some of the behind-the-scenes things going on at Marvel.
They're blaming it on something other than COVID for once.
Yeah. So the COVID's not the excuse.
Not the only excuse.
And evidently, a lot of this stuff leaked out after a retreat this past September. And, the article appeared in Variety on November 1st and was written by Tatiana Siegel, and it's titled Crisis at Marvel. And the first thing they cover when they went to this retreat in Palm Springs, led by Kevin Feige, was the subject of Jonathan Majors. Now, Jonathan Majors has been in the news for an alleged domestic assault. We don't know whether he's innocent or guilty. It looks like he's going to trial. But there was been a lot of stuff speculated around Jonathan Majors as he started to lose sponsorship deals. I think Creative Artists Agency dropped him.
He's getting the Johnny Depp treatment, so it really doesn't matter if he's innocent or guilty. He's pretty much screwed.
Right, and we haven't commented on it because we don't know the facts.
No, we don't.
But what we do know is he appeared in Quantumania, and that movie bombed.
Yeah.
And we talked about Quantumania. I got an early screening of it. I didn't blame Jonathan Majors. I thought he was fine in it, but
he's all right.
Is he the Thanos? Is he the big bad? I mean,
especially not after he got beat by Ant-Man.
Yeah, so he gets defeated by Ant-Man, and then he shows up in Loki, which is so convoluted and weird.
I haven't even watched it.
It's just not worth paying attention to unless you're just a hardcore Loki fan. But so Jonathan Majors was the first thing they discussed, and let's talk about that first. So you could use the excuse of a shifting of resources and priorities and what's happened around the scandal with Jonathan Majors to do away with Kang the Conqueror as your main big baddie, or you could recast somebody in the Kang role. But what do you think, based on what was coming out of this retreat in this article, what do you think, first of all, should they do with Kang the Conqueror and Jonathan Majors?
I was never a huge fan of Kang the Conqueror as the big bad anyways. I just don't think he's that level of a threat. As far as recasting, I mean, they've kind of made that easy to do since they talk about multiverses and multiverse variants.
Right.
So, just about every other hero has a different look for the character. So I don't know why every version of Kang would have to look like Jonathan Majors. But for me, I just don't really think he's, especially the way they've written him, he doesn't seem like a compelling universal threat to the Marvel universe to me.
And they've already seen it. The Quantumania came out and nobody cared.
Yeah.
So how are you going to bring him back into Secret Wars and build from there? I don't think you can. I think you've seen all you need to see with all the economic shifting going on.
I think their argument
at
was like there was more dangerous versions of him or something. I don't know. It was stupid, though.
But you've already lost the audience, so nobody cares.
And it's something I think the casual fan is going to have no idea about.
Like, and you need the casual fan to have these movies do more than $1 billion.
Exactly. Those are the ones that push it above $1 billion. Absolutely.
Yeah, so one of the names, so that's the first thing they talked about was, do we get rid of Kang the Conqueror as the big bad for the next phase of Marvel, or do we go with someone like Doctor Doom? What do you think about Doctor Doom?
I think Doctor Doom would be the best choice. I mean, he's one of the best villains Marvel has, period. I think, Thanos,
always has been.
Magneto, Doctor Doom. Although I love Magneto, he's probably my favorite villain. I don't know if he's like a universal threat type of character, but I think Doctor Doom would definitely be the best option.
Yeah, so Doctor Doom is a possibility that was discussed in this article. Makes a lot of sense knowing that they're trying to get the Fantastic Four rebooted off the ground too. And Doctor Doom has a built-in following with the comics for decades.
I think he's more popular than the Fantastic Four, honestly.
For me, he was.
Yeah.
I always liked Doctor Doom more than the Fantastic Four themselves. But so they talk about that, and then they get into the Marvels. And let's talk about the Marvels for a second, because there's a couple of things to talk about. And the first thing they talked about was the various reshoots that happened, the budget being over $250 million, which there are some sites that are saying it's over $300 million because they had many reshoots.
So that means it's got to make what, 600, 700 just to
It doesn't
break
include
even?
marketing.
Yeah,
So
750 probably just to break even.
You're
won't
talking
make that.
750.
Won't get
800.
anywhere close to that.
Yeah, and so coming off of Captain Marvel, which was over $1 billion, that would be a huge disappointment. It's projected right now to be somewhere they raised the projections to between $75 and $80 million, which for a normal movie is great, not for Marvel.
I'm gonna laugh if it does like 40.
Well, if it does 40, that means that Five Nights at Freddy's ate into the box office. But look, I mean, the director Anna DaCosta left before post-production was done to go film another movie in London, or to go film something in London. So that's very odd. The article talks about some issues that happened around the director leaving and that not being normal at all. And then based on the budget and the fact that Brie Larson has said that, she's basically alluded to the fact that she wants to be done. I don't think the girl Khan that plays
Kamala Khan
that
Marvel.
plays Miss Marvel, no issues with her, but she can't carry on the mantle.
They want her to.
Monica
they want
Rambeau.
her, they want them to so bad, but it's just not. It's not working. They're
the-
not characters that I think casual fans even know or care about. And
The money's not going to be there for it, and so you're going to have the Marvels that's coming out here in the next week, and it spells trouble for them, and they know it. Marvel knows it, and so that's why some of these articles, like you're seeing in Variety, have come out. And so the next thing they talk about in the article is that they need some sort of reset. They need an injection of momentum back in Marvel again. And one of the ways they could do it ties into the Marvels. There's been rumors that a cameo in an end scene at the end of the Marvels has Kelsey Grammer returning as Beast from X-Men. Do you think that that's something that could potentially be a reboot of the Marvel Cinematic Universe to bring in the X-Men?
I mean, I think that could also just lead into Deadpool, right? Because I think Deadpool's going to do that.
In a much bigger way, with a much bigger audience.
So I think that's really all that's doing for that. And they've already tried to allude to, I think, the fact that Miss Marvel is a mutant or something like that. I don't know. But I mean, as much of an X-Men fan as I am, like that's my favorite comic property, period. There's nothing they can do to make me watch this movie. You know what I mean? They can try to bait me with that, but I don't care.
I don't
see it.
And if you were going to do it, I don't dislike Kelsey Grammer as Beast, but that's not the character to do it. It seems like
It's not the movie to do it. That's not the movie to do. That's a completely different audience. And this is part of the problem with Disney and Marvel in general. And we've talked about this. They do not know their demographics. They have no clue. The type of people that are watching this movie, you're going for a very specific audience, probably mostly younger women, I would think, right?
Yeah.
And
they don't care about this.
No, they don't care about this. They're not huge X-Men fans.
Barbie showed that.
Yeah.
Barbie showed that. The audience for these superhero and comic book movies is largely male.
Yeah.
That's just a fact. That's,
they want to make something for everybody, and they're going after this audience that just doesn't care about it. And they're losing their audience that does care about it. They're losing their core demographics on this quest to find an audience that could care less about it. And then you're leading into the X-Men, which is something that's huge on a movie that no one's going to see. I mean, that's just bad planning all the way around.
Yeah,
honestly.
and the article goes on to talk about the VFX issues that have happened, which, they've got to get that right, because Marvel, when Iron Man first came out, was the gold standard for VFX. They didn't overdo it until some of the later movies.
Iron Man still holds up.
Absolutely.
You go back and watch it. The first Iron Man still looks great.
They went on location. It was very much around Robert Downey Jr., and we'll get into that. But, the VFX house and the exit of Victoria Alonso, we saw it
who was awful, by the way.
Should have been gone.
That was
Should've
the
been gone
best
years
thing
ago.
that happened is they fired her. She was terrible. In case anyone didn't know, she found the term X-Men offensive and outdated because they had the term men.
Then don't work for Disney and don't work with a property like
It's the
like
second
X-Men and
most
Marvel.
iconic name Marvel has outside of Spider-Man, and she wanted to change it.
Yeah,
Like
you
the
can't take
mutant or some
Superman and
crap.
change it to Super Person. You
Yeah.
just can't do it. Go create a new character, and if you want to do that. But so the VFX changes need to be made. I don't know if they outsource that to some of the smaller VFX houses that can take on individual projects. You have to be careful because you have to keep a certain aesthetic and look to these movies.
Yeah,
A
but also
certain-
you have too much stuff going on. Though.
Yeah,
You got all those dumb shows, and then you've got all your movies.
And so one of the ways that they think that they want to bring it back is to bring back the original Avengers. Robert Downey Jr., Scarlett Johansson, Chris Evans. What do you think about that idea?
I mean, I'm not gonna lie. Like, if they did that and it led to an interesting story, like let's say it led to like a crossover with the old X-Men, like an Avengers versus X-Men story, which is an actual comic
I'd go see
story.
that.
I'd
But-
watch that. That'd be huge.
But that's a one-off because does that lead you to growing the brand for like Iron Man launched into 10 movies?
Yeah, I think you would need to lead that into a full reboot of the universe, a full recasting of the X-Men, like what X-Men you
So
want.
you got to start with the X-Men and make it a more contained story that slowly brings in a face-off with the Avengers over time, like you did with Tony Stark and Robert Downey Jr. built Iron Man. Then you had Thor, then Captain America, and then Winter Soldier. It started to build Civil War.
The issue they have with that though is all those actors. If they're wanting to get back the old actors,
Yeah, they gotta do it quick.
Then you got to do it quick because those guys are getting old.
Not
Like
gonna
Robert
be-
Downey Jr. is
yeah.
what, late 50s now or mid 50s.
That's right. Yeah.
So I mean, you can't do 10 years worth of X-Men movies and then ask Robert Downey Jr. to
That's-
come back when he's 70.
That's why, as much as I would love to see Robert Downey Jr. back, I don't think it's the right move.
You could CGI him, I guess, and do like the
Make
Yeah.
him be the new AI.
maybe
That
I
he
don't know.
developed it before he died, and now he's the new Jarvis. You could do
There's
look,
things you could do.
There's
Yeah.
things you could do, but so I think that's the wrong way to go. I think that is an admission that you're dead in the water.
That doesn't bug me though. They need to admit they're dead in the water. They need to acknowledge that what
Yeah,
they
I'm
have
okay
done
with
has,
admitting that
has
you're in
failed
trouble.
miserably, and move on.
But
The denial is what's hurting them because they keep doubling and tripling down on their failures, and they need to acknowledge that what they're doing isn't working.
Chris Pratt played Star-Lord. You have Ryan Reynolds as Deadpool. You have Spider-Man. And so you've got
Gotta have those
actors,
central characters. That
Tom
people care
Holland.
about.
You've got actors out there that can be your core. And you got to cast Wolverine. You got to get that right. You've got to get this Blade thing right. We'll talk about Mahershala Ali because that's in the article as well. And man, it shouldn't surprise me, but they continuously
It almost
make,
feels like somebody's sabotaging the company. with
yeah,
that.
you can't be serious with these things. Like in the article,
I'm amazed these people get paid millions of dollars
yeah,
to cause this company to lose billions of dollars with
they're-
stupid decisions.
they're trying to right the ship, but here's where they were earlier this year. Mahershala Ali, great actor, signed on to play the role of Blade, who is a vampire. And they were working towards a 2023 release date. That was before the strike. But as they were going through the strike, they went through 5 writers, 2 directors, and a shutdown 6 weeks before production, according to Variety. And one person in this article, it says one person familiar with the script permutation says the story at one point morphed into a narrative led by women and filled with life lessons. Man, that sounds like a Blade movie.
Even Variety says it's bizarre, which is weird. You think they'd praise it.
Yeah.
Usually they shill for this.
Blade was relegated to the 4th lead, a bizarre idea considering that the studio
That's
had
so
a-
progressive.
had hired a 2-time Oscar winner, Mahershala Ali.
Yeah. They were going to get you with the old bait and switch again,
So guess what Mahershala Ali did? He said, I'm out.
which is awesome. I'm glad he actually saw that look like crap and pulled out of it.
And so
Respect
Feige
for him.
went back and now he's hired Michael Green, who was the Oscar-nominated writer of Logan. I liked Logan,
I did too. I thought it was good. I didn't think it was great as everybody else said it was, but I did like it.
but it's good. And so now they're looking to make the film slated for 2025, but they're going to do it for a budget of under $100 million. That's a little bit different from what Marvel normally does, but I'm okay with that because if you're efficient with where you film, how you film, I like a contained story. around Blade. You don't need to overdo it with a bunch of green screen that looks stupid.
Yeah.
Or go film,
You
in
can
the
use
volume.
Blade to introduce some cool characters too. Like you can lead into Ghost Rider and all kind of cool stuff with that.
So maybe this strike has allowed them to look at where they've just taken it on the chin over and over, and maybe they're starting to make some changes. The article goes on and mentions we talked about before that they're talking about reviving Robert Downey Jr.'s Iron Man and Scarlett Johansson's Black Widow. Again, it's not the worst thing if they go down that road. I wouldn't do that. I would say, look, we have to come up with a new core of characters, and Deadpool's got to be one of them. Deadpool has to be a core character.
It needs to be characters that your casual fan at least knows who they are.
And they know Deadpool.
If I go down the street and I ask a random person, how do you like Miss Marvel? They're going to be like, what are you talking about?
But they know Spider-Man.
Right.
They know Wolverine.
They know Wolverine. And those are the characters they need to focus on.
And if you want to bring back Thor, there's characters you can bring back. But they've got to come up with what is the foundation they're going to build from. And, if you're not going to bring Black Widow, Scarlett Johansson, we've talked about before, you could go the X-Men route and go with Storm or
Tons
Rogue.
of great female heroes, yeah.
Or Jean Grey, the Phoenix. So, there's so many characters you could bring in the female role, or you can bring back Scarlett Johansson. Now, it will take away from what happened in Endgame. That was a big moment when she died. So
right.
bring
Comics
back
do that
another,
all the time, though.
give another actress a chance. I don't know if they would bring in Kate Bishop from to replace from Hawkeye.
Oh, yeah.
So there's things you could do. I would prefer to see someone in the X-Men brought in. But so closing thoughts. This article was very damning towards Marvel in terms of where Marvel has been and why they failed. How they fix it, you've got to get the identity politics out of there. You got to bring in creative people who understand the IP. You've got to get the casting right.
Make them look like they came out of the comics. I mean, they
faithful.
Need to be recognizable to the characters that you saw in the comics. I think that's huge.
And if you do that, and I believe one last thing is on Disney Plus, quit doing live action Marvel series, just like with Star Wars. Use Disney Plus for animated. Animators can become live action producers, writers, and directors.
I'd watch and see how X-Men 97 goes first.
X-Men 97 is
if
coming
that goes
out,
well
so
and
we'll
it's
see.
good, then that's a good idea. If that flops and is a trash heap, then maybe that's
But
not.
I don't want to see the big screen stories on the small screen.
It's too much to keep up with, especially when it's characters you don't care about.
They spent $25 million on She-Hulk per episode. That's more than Game of Thrones the final season.
Yeah.
That makes no sense. You're never going to get your return on investment for that. You're not adding 20 million subs a quarter now.
No, they're losing subs.
So it doesn't make any sense. So I think you use Disney Plus and the streaming platforms for different things that are not big cinema, big screen characters and stories. And
I think you need to pull from
focus
comics.
on your core.
Pull from comics that people cared about. A lot of the stuff they're doing now is from comics that kind of happened after 2011 when they rebooted and swapped out all the characters, and it was a huge flop for Marvel in the comics. So I don't know why they think that would be a success with the movies. I mean, they're just following themselves into failure. It's already failed when they tried it in the comics.
Right.
So, I mean, do you care about Sam Wilson as Captain America? No. I don't think most people care about that. I don't think
that's
most people
not
care
on
about
Sam
Kamala
Wilson's
Khan.
character, or the Sam Wilson
I think
character.
he's better as the Falcon.
Yeah.
Right? It's an original character. Like, I don't want to see him as Captain America. That was a dumb
And the
story.
proof's in the pudding. These things come out and they don't make any money. They lose money. So it's not our opinion. It's the box office.
Yeah.
Money talks. It's like
can't keep blaming COVID anymore.
Yeah. Barbie came out and it's $1.4 billion.
Mario is a little over $1.3 billion.
Mario, $1.3 billion. Look,
Spider-Man No Way Home, like what?
1.9, 1.8.
Yeah, it's almost $2 billion.
So look,
and it didn't even launch in China, did it?
And all those stories we just mentioned, Mario, Barbie, Spider-Man No Way Home, they stayed faithful to their story and their characters. And they were successful. So that's the blueprint. That's our ideas and our thoughts about it. Let us know what you think. If you saw this article from Variety, who do you want the next core of Marvel Cinematic Heroes to be? Do you think that they're making the right decisions in some of the potentially bringing back a Robert Downey Jr. or a Scarlett Johansson? What are they going to do with X-Men? What do you want to see around that? Let us know your thoughts. Leave us a comment, smash that like button. Most importantly, though, hit subscribe so that we can continue to grow our channel. And TCB.